My girlfriend said, "You don't get opinions because we're not married." I replied, "Understood." Then I took my retired judge neighbor to the Avalanche game, boxed up the ring lights, reset the smart home all week long, and watched her return with phones recording to turn it into content. Welcome to Family Tales. My girlfriend told me I don't get to have opinions about her plans because we're not married, so I stopped treating her like a wife. As you listen, think about what you would do if someone wanted all the benefits but none of the responsibility. I'm Jordan. I've been with Tessa for about 1.5 years, and she moved into my condo 8 months ago. I'm a civil engineering tech at a transportation firm, nothing glamorous but stable. I bought this one-bedroom place 3 years ago, and I was proud of it because it was the first thing that was truly mine. Tessa is the opposite of my world. She's a Pilates instructor and a wellness influencer. She's got around 8,700 followers on Instagram, does brand partnerships, posts routines, reviews products, all of that. At first, I liked her energy. She was ambitious, she was social, she made life feel lighter, but she didn't just bring energy into my home. She brought an entire ecosystem. She has this trio of friends, Ava, Brooke, and Leela. I started calling them the hummingbirds because they're always buzzing around, never still, always moving in a pack. And once Tessa moved in, it started feeling like they moved in too. 3, 4 nights a week they were in my condo. Ring lights in my living room, tripods blocking the hallway, sample drops covering my kitchen counter. There was kombucha brewing on my countertops like we lived in some shared studio apartment. They rearranged my living room furniture into this conversation circle setup they called their creative space. I'm not a big conflict person. I work long hours. When I got home, I'd usually retreat to the bedroom or sit with my laptop and let them do their thing. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Tessa was building her brand. She needed support. Relationships are about compromise, right? Still, compromise starts to rot when it only goes one way. Last week, I finally tried to plan a normal weekend for just us. I bought tickets to an Avalanche game for Saturday. I made a dinner reservation at Tavernetta afterward. I'd been pulling late nights on a bridge design deadline, and I wanted a real break. I wanted one day where it was just me and my girlfriend, not me and my girlfriend and 3 friends and a ring light. I told Tessa twice during the week. I texted her the game time. Both times she said, "Sounds fun." Friday morning, I was making coffee and thinking, finally, a weekend where we feel like a couple again. Then Tessa walked out of the bedroom with a duffel bag packed. She was scrolling through her phone like she was reading a menu. "So the girls found this amazing a frame in Greenwich for the weekend," she said. "Last-minute opening, we're leaving in like an hour." I just stood there with the coffee pot in my hand, waiting for the rest of the sentence where she acknowledged me. "We have Avalanche tickets tomorrow," I said, "and dinner reservations." She didn't even look up. "Oh, right, can you sell the tickets or take someone else?" "Tess," I said, keeping my voice calm, "I specifically planned this weekend for us." That's when she finally looked at me, and the look wasn't apologetic, it wasn't conflicted. It was flat, like she'd been holding this line in her pocket and she was finally glad she got to use it. "Jordan," she said, "you don't get to have opinions about my plans. We're not married. I'm not asking for your permission." I'm not going to pretend that didn't land hard, not because I wanted to control her, but because of what it implied. That my time didn't matter, our plans didn't matter, and that our relationship status was something she could use like a shield whenever it was convenient. This was one of those moments where you realize you've been living under rules you never agreed to. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded, poured my coffee, and said, "You're right. We're not married." She left an hour later. I heard her and the hummingbirds laughing in the hallway, talking about some sunrise yoga plan. I sat on my couch, or what used to be my couch before it got rearranged into their little circle, and something clicked in my brain. It wasn't anger exactly. It was clarity. If I don't get a say because we're not married, then she doesn't get to treat my home like a shared studio. She doesn't get wife privileges while keeping boyfriend-level commitment. If she wanted independence without inconvenience, she could have it, but not on my dime and not in my space. So I did the first small thing that proved to me I meant it. I took my neighbor, Miss Green, to the Avalanche game. Miss Green is a retired family court judge who lives across the hall, dry sense of humor, doesn't miss much. I'd helped her carry groceries before, and she'd helped me once when my package got delivered to her door by mistake. We weren't close, but she was solid. We had a good time. She asked why Tessa wasn't there, and I gave her the short version. Miss Green looked at me over her beer and said, "So she wants independence without inconvenience, tale as old as time." Then she raised her glass. "To clarity." "Yeah," I said, "to clarity." When I got home, the condo was quiet in a way I hadn't felt in months. No ring lights, no chatter. No camera stands leaning against my walls like they lived here. I slept better than I expected. Over the next few days, Tessa stayed in Greenwich and extended the trip because, as she put it in her stories, the energy was too good to leave. She posted mountain views, meditation sessions, and sponsored protein shake reviews. She texted me a few times, but it was all logistics. "Can you grab my mail? Can you water my succulents?" No apology, no acknowledgement of blowing up our plans. No, "Hey, are you okay?" And that was another quiet lesson. When someone hurts you, then acts like nothing happened, they're telling you they think your feelings are optional. So on Saturday, I started making changes. I didn't destroy anything. I didn't throw her stuff in the street. I didn't do anything dramatic. I was careful, and honestly, I was weirdly calm. I went room by room and packed everything in the common areas that belonged to Tessa or was part of her content setup. Ring lights boxed. Tripods boxed. The mountain of adaptogen powders that had taken over my kitchen boxed. Sample products boxed. I labeled everything neatly and stacked the boxes in the second closet. Her personal items and clothes stayed in the bedroom. I wasn't trying to erase her as a person. I was pulling my home back from being treated like a free studio. Then I reset my smart home system. I removed her profile from the thermostat. I removed her access from the speakers. I deleted the guest lock codes her friends were using. I kicked the hummingbirds off my streaming accounts. I changed my main profile name to Rent-Free Opinions. Petty. Yes. But also, it matched the principle she had just taught me. If my opinions don't count in her life, her friends don't get to live inside my accounts. On Sunday, I moved the furniture back. The living room had been arranged in a way that made it impossible to actually watch TV, like the room existed for talking and filming only. I put the couch back facing the television like a normal person. I pushed the chairs back to the corners. I reclaimed my space. I took down the full-length ring light-ready mirror she'd mounted on my wall. It left holes I'd have to patch, but I wasn't going to keep a prop nailed into my home like I didn't get a say. Then I deep-cleaned the kitchen. I scrubbed kombucha residue off the counters. I organized the cabinets again. I threw out open sample products that had been sitting there for weeks. My island was visible again. I could actually prep food on it. That night, I sat at my clean kitchen island and realized something simple. Peace is not a luxury, it's a baseline. And if you have to fight for it in your own home, something is wrong. On Monday, I took it one step further. I went to Home Goods and bought one of those letterboard signs. I set it on the entry table where you can't miss it when you walk in. I called it the house charter. It said quiet hours after 1000 p.m. Guests by invitation, not assumption. Shared costs equals shared consent. Respect the owner, respect the home. Was it passive-aggressive? Maybe. Was it clear? Absolutely. I also made a shared Google spreadsheet for household expenses. If she was going to live here, then going forward we'd split groceries and utilities fairly. No more vague, "I'll get you next time," while her friends ate and drank half of what I bought. Everything documented, everything clean, no guessing. Midweek, Miss Green caught me in the hallway carrying recycling out, mostly empty sample product bottles. She looked at my face and said, "Ah, the reckoning begins." I gave her the update. She nodded like she'd seen this movie 1,000 times. "I presided over family court for 23 years, she said. "You know the most common theme. One person thinking they could have it both ways, commitment when convenient, independence when not. It never works." I didn't even know how to respond to that because she was right. By the time Sunday rolled around, I almost forgot what it felt like to have the condo full. My thoughts were quieter. My stress felt lower. My home felt like mine again. Then, Sunday evening, I heard the key in the lock. I heard Tessa's voice in the hallway and at least 2 hummingbirds with her, laughing that high-pitched, energized chatter. The door opened and the laughter stopped. Tessa stood in the doorway with her duffel bag staring at the living room, the furniture, the clear counters, the letter board. Ava and Brooke crowded behind her, and all 3 of them slowly took in the changes like they'd walked into the wrong apartment. Tessa's face shifted fast, confusion, realization, anger. "What is this?" she said. "What's what?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. She gestured around. "This, everything. Where are my ring lights?" "In boxes," I said. "In the hall closet, labeled, nothing's damaged." "You boxed my things while I was gone." "I reorganized my home," I said. Ava stepped forward with her phone already in her hand like she was ready to turn this into a scene. "This is insane. You can't just erase someone's presence in their own home." I held up a hand. "Respectfully, this isn't her home. It's mine. She's not on the deed, not on the mortgage, not on any lease. I have the right to organize my property." Tessa narrowed her eyes. "Is this because I went to Greenwich? Are you punishing me for wanting independence?" "No," I said. "I'm respecting what you told me, that I don't get to have opinions about your plans because we're not married, so I exercised my opinions about my own space." "That's not," she started, then stopped, like she realized arguing against her own words would sound bad. "That's not what I meant." "You were pretty clear," I said. "If I don't get a say in your life, you don't get default access to structure my home however you want." "Fair's fair," Brooke jumped in. "This is emotional manipulation. You're creating a hostile environment because she took a weekend trip with friends." I stood up, still calm. "I'm not doing this with you two. This is between me and Tessa. In my condo, the days of treating this place like your personal studio are done." Ava and Brooke exchanged a look that could freeze water. They didn't like being dismissed, but they also didn't have an argument that changed the facts. Tessa looked between me and them, trying to decide which version of herself to show. Finally, she said, "Can we talk? Alone?" I nodded. Ava and Brooke left, but Ava gave Tessa a look like she was handing her a script, like, "Remember who you are in this story." When the door closed, Tessa sat on the couch and stared at the letter board. "Respect the owner, respect the home," she read out loud. "Jordan, this is extreme." "Is it?" I said. "Because hosting content nights here 4 times a week without asking me, rearranging my furniture, having your friends use all my streaming services, that was normal, but me setting boundaries is extreme." She opened her mouth, then shut it. "I contribute to this household," she said finally. "You contribute maybe $300 a month for groceries that mostly feed your friends," I said. "I pay the mortgage, HOA fees, utilities, internet, and every subscription. I'm not saying you contribute nothing. I'm saying we're not going to pretend it's equal while I'm also being told my opinions don't count." She stared at her hands for a long moment. "So what do you want?" she asked. "An apology?" "I want mutual respect," I said. "I want to be asked, not told. I want my opinion to matter in my own home." I let the silence sit for a second so she couldn't slide past it. "I wanted 1 weekend," I said. "You could have said, 'Hey, I know we have plans, but this opportunity came up and it matters to me. Can we reschedule?' That's partnership. What you did was announce you were leaving and tell me I don't get to have an opinion because we're not married." Her jaw tightened. "I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" I asked. She didn't answer. And sometimes silence is the answer. It means the truth doesn't sound good out loud. Her voice got smaller. "So what now? You want me to move out?" "I want you to decide what you actually want," I said. "If you want to live here as my partner, then we need real boundaries. Your friends need to be invited, not assumed. They don't have unlimited access. When they're here, they clean up. No more turning my home into a studio without asking." She started to argue, but I kept going. "And if either of us plans something significant, the other person doesn't get to override it last minute without discussion. We coordinate like partners, or we admit we're not acting like partners." She stared at the floor. I could see the fight in her, but I could also see something else. Confusion, like she wasn't used to someone staying calm and holding the line. "I need to think about this," she said. "Okay," I said. Then she asked, "Can I get my things out of the boxes?" Of course, I said. They're your things. She moved boxes into the bedroom, closed the door, and disappeared. I sat down with my laptop, tried to work, but my focus was gone, not because I missed her. Because the whole relationship suddenly felt different, like I'd been living in a story that wasn't mine, and I was only just seeing the script. About 30 minutes later, I heard muffled voices from the bedroom. Tessa was timing the hummingbirds. The voices rose and fell like they were dissecting everything I said, deciding what kind of man I was, what kind of move this was, what it meant for her. I made dinner for myself. I ate at my clean kitchen island in peace. Around 9, the bedroom door opened. Tessa came out alone. She looked tired. They left, she said. They didn't want another confrontation. Dramatic, I said. She almost smiled, almost. You want some dinner, I asked. I made extra. She shook her head. I'm not hungry. Then she asked a question that felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Jordan, she said, do I have a say in this home? I put my fork down. If you're living here as my partner, yes, I said. But that means I also have a say. We make decisions together. We respect each other's space. That's what having a say means. I watched her face carefully because this part matters. And if we can't do that, I said, then no, you don't have a say. You'll just be staying here temporarily. She looked around the condo again, like she was finally seeing it as my space that she'd been allowed into, not a shared stage she could control. I need a few days, she said quietly, to think about what I want. Okay, I said. We moved some boxes back out together, but only for storage, not for setup. We didn't talk much. It felt weirdly functional, like roommates handling logistics instead of a couple building a life. When we finished, she went back into the bedroom and closed the door without saying goodnight. I sat on the couch and told myself one thing. Whatever she decides, at least I will know I stopped performing being okay with things I wasn't okay with. 2 days later, I was at my drafting table working on a design revision when I heard the key in the lock again. I assumed it was Tessa coming back from teaching, but it wasn't just Tessa. The door opened and Tessa walked in with Ava and Brooke, and Ava was filming. Brooke was filming too. They were already talking as they entered, voices projected, like they were stepping into a scene they'd rehearsed. I just need to document what's been happening, Tessa said, gesturing around my condo. People need to know. My stomach dropped, not because I was scared, but because it was suddenly obvious what this was. I stood up. What's going on? Tessa pointed at me and the phones pivoted in my direction. This, she said, loud and clear for the camera, this is what I'm talking about. Jordan threw me out of our home and erased my entire life here because I took one weekend trip with friends. He boxed up all my belongings. Stop, I said calmly. Turn off the cameras. Ava shook her head. We have every right to document. In my private home, I said. No, you don't. Turn them off or leave. They didn't. Tessa kept going, building her narrative. He changed all the locks. I didn't change any locks, I said. You still have your key. You literally used it. He removed me from everything, she said. I removed extra privileges, I said. After you told me my opinion doesn't matter. Brooke chimed in, phone still up. He's financially abusing you, Tess. This is classic control behavior. That was the moment I realized this was not about resolving anything. This was about content, about getting sympathy, about making me the villain so she could be the hero. So I did the one thing that ended the performance. I walked into my bedroom, grabbed my laptop, came back, and pulled up a voice memo file I'd saved. Then I pressed play. Tessa's voice filled the room, clear as day from that Friday morning. Jordan, you don't get to have opinions about my plans. We're not married. I'm not asking for your permission. The room went dead quiet. Ava lowered her phone. Brooke's mouth fell open. Tessa's face went pale. You recorded me without telling me, she said, desperate. I was part of the conversation, I said. Where we live, that's legal. And I'm glad I recorded it, because you walked in here trying to film and expose where you play victim, but your own words tell a different story. Ava found her voice again. This doesn't change the fact that you threw her out. I didn't throw anyone out, I said. She's been here every night. She has access. I just stopped letting my home be treated like a free studio while being told I don't matter. Brooke tried another angle. Posting this could help other women recognize control patterns. I turned to Tessa. Is that what this is? Content? And the look on her face told me everything. She didn't answer right away, but she didn't deny it either, so I said, simple and quiet, get out. Ava started, you can't. I absolutely can, I said. This is my home. You're not invited. You're trespassing. Leave, or I call the police and show them footage of you refusing to leave while filming inside private property. They looked at Tessa. She was frozen, calculating, because now she couldn't post any of this without looking manipulative. The audio had wrecked the story she came to tell. Finally, Tessa grabbed her bag and walked toward the door. This isn't over, she said. Yeah, I replied, it is. They left. I locked the door behind them and sat down on my couch and just breathed. My hands were shaking. But my mind felt steady. Because when someone tries to turn your real life into a storyline, you either shrink or you end the show. That same day, I made a call I'd been thinking about for weeks. My firm offers overseas contracts sometimes, 6 months to a year, international infrastructure projects. I'd always turned them down because I was settled here. I had my condo, I had my routine, I had Tessa, and I thought that meant stability. I called my manager and asked if any contracts were still open. There was one starting in 3 weeks, transit system design project in Montreal. Cold as hell, different country, but the pay bump was real, and honestly, getting out of Denver for a while sounded perfect. I accepted it on the spot. Then I contacted a property management company. Within days, I had a 6-month lease agreement with a young couple relocating for work. They'd move in the week I left for Canada. When you finally stop negotiating for basic respect, your choices get a lot clearer. The next morning, Miss Green texted me. Saw the commotion, you okay? I went over for coffee and told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she nodded. You're handling this correctly, she said. Document everything. Keep that audio file backed up. And if she posts anything defamatory, you'll have grounds for legal action. I pulled up Tessa's Instagram and showed her a post from the day before. A carefully staged photo of Tessa looking contemplative, long caption about recognizing toxic patterns and choosing yourself. No direct accusation, but heavy implication. The comments were full of "you deserve better" and "men can't handle strong women." Then Miss Green pointed to one comment thread and leaned closer. Somehow, the audio had been leaked into the comments. I still don't know how. I never shared it publicly. But there it was, and the comments section turned fast. People started asking questions. Why was she painting herself as abandoned when she told her partner his opinions didn't matter? Who owned the home? What actually happened? By the next evening, the post was deleted. But screenshots don't disappear, and Tessa's follower count started dropping. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel guilt. I felt the simplest thing: consequences. A couple days later, Tessa showed up alone, no cameras, no friends. She looked exhausted in a way I hadn't seen before, like she didn't have the energy to perform. Can I come in? She asked. I let her in. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. Someone leaked the audio, she said, tired but still a little accusatory. It wasn't me, I said. She stared at the floor. I believe you. Then she exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days. My engagement tanked, she said. I'm losing followers. Brands are asking questions. I didn't respond. After a long silence, she admitted it. I needed you to be the villain, she said quietly, for the story to work. For me to be the strong, independent woman breaking free, you had to be controlling, but you wouldn't cooperate. I looked at her. Because I'm not the villain, Tess. I'm just someone who stopped letting you treat his home like a free studio while his feelings didn't matter. She nodded once, like she couldn't argue with that. I got caught up in the content, she said. In the brand. In having the right narrative. The hummingbirds kept pushing me to be more authentic, but also more strategic, and I stopped seeing you as a person. That sentence hit me harder than any fight we'd had. You were just set dressing for my life, she added, almost whispering. It was the most honest thing she'd said in months, so I told her the truth. I signed a 6-month contract, I said. I'm leaving for Montreal in 2 weeks. The condo is leased to new tenants starting the week after I leave. Her eyes went wide. What? Where does that leave me? Wherever you decide, I said. You've got 2 weeks to figure out where you're going. I'll give you references for rental applications if you need them, but this chapter is done. She sat there processing, cycling through emotions like she was searching for the right one to fix this. Anger, bargaining, negotiation. None of them landed because the foundation was already gone. I really did care about you, she said quietly, at some point, before it became about everything else. I believe you, I said, but caring isn't enough when there's no respect underneath it, she nodded. Then she cried softly, not dramatic crying, not camera crying, quiet tears. I'm sorry, she said. For real, not for the vlog, I'm sorry. I believe you, I said. We sat like that for a while, not touching, not comforting, just existing in the same space one last time with actual honesty. She left about an hour later. Over the weekend, she packed the rest of her things while I was out. When I came back, her key was on the counter with a note. Thank you for not being worse to me than I deserved. I didn't know how to feel about that. Maybe she meant it. Maybe it was her way of saving face. Maybe it was both. The next week, I got the condo ready for the new tenants and organized my life for Montreal. I said goodbye to the few Denver friends I actually had. Miss Green invited me over for one last dinner before I left. The new tenants seemed nice. Young couple, first time living together outside of dorms, excited and nervous. I told them it's a good space because it is. It was mine first, and it would be theirs now. As for me, I needed something new. A place where nobody's narrative required me to be smaller than I am. I'm flying out Sunday, starting the project Monday. Maybe Montreal will be freezing, maybe I'll hate it, maybe I'll love it, but at least it'll be mine. And that's the part I'm holding on to. Because sometimes freedom is just the sound of your own door closing for the last time. And sometimes that's exactly the sound you need to hear. Lesson 1, if someone uses your relationship status to dismiss you, they are also telling you how they value you. Lesson 2, independence is not a license to take without contributing. Real independence includes responsibility. Lesson 3, boundaries are not punishments. If you only set boundaries after being hurt, it's still valid, but it shows how long you were swallowing your needs. Lesson 4, if a partner turns conflict into content, the relationship stops being private and starts being a performance. Lesson 5, calm actions can be stronger than loud arguments. Clarity changes everything. So what would you have done after hearing, you don't get to have opinions because we're not married? And where do you draw the line between supporting someone's dream and being used as a prop in it?